Hey guys, it's Jay. Jay loves films, and today I wanted to talk about Saltburn. It was recently released sometime around last year, late last year, and I wanted to talk about it. It is a bit of a peculiar film. To start, this film could almost be viewed as almost having four parts based on what we learn from the film. I am discussing the main events, so spoiler warning now. For part one, we are introduced to Oliver, who has recently joined Oxford University, and as he tries to become more acclimated to the new environment, we quickly learn that he's viewed differently due to not being as wealthy as the other students. In addition, his character is quite shy and meek, and due to the other students not being as inviting, he becomes almost as like an odd one out. You can tell his desire to be included as it especially shines when he meets Felix. Felix comes across as the opposite of Oliver, as he has a steady friend group and enjoys being around them. While Felix develops a friendship with Oliver, most of his friend groups still view him as an outsider, especially Farley, who we also learn is Felix's cousin. After an unfortunate event in Oliver's family, Felix invites him to stay with his family during the summer. This is where part two starts, at Saltburn. When Oliver first arrives, we again see him trying to adjust to the new environment, which includes Felix's family. The family in general come across as though they have a lack of care for others, especially when we meet Elspeth's friend, Pamela, who stays with the family as she goes through her own troubles, which the family somewhat pretend to care about for. Elizabeth, in particular, seems to downplay or pick at people's troubles. This is seen throughout the film, but also when she meets Oliver. The entire family doesn't seem like they're the most sensible people, but we do learn of their own problems that they face, such as the sister Venetia, who could definitely use having a bit of a different environment or family in general, as the family seemed to be uninterested in regards to her concern. We also have Farley, who's in need of help with his mom, but again, the family uninterested. Now, for Oliver, he does seem to originally take notice for these things. However, the way he goes about it, I would consider very unhelpful. This could probably move into part three. Oliver, by this point, has almost begun to blend in the family by occasionally making comments and remarks similar to the way they have. But we then see his unusual behavior as he becomes infatuated with Felix. I'm not going into detail on all of his specific actions, but essentially, he's obsessed with Felix to the point he becomes interested with everything, anything, and anyone at Saltburn, including Felix's bathwater. In addition, he starts to take advantage of what he learns about the sister and Farley, and results in Farley having to leave Saltburn. And as for their sister, they're seen, which for the most part I can only describe as one word that they used, vampire. This will bring us to part four. The jig is up. I can't fully tell when Felix becomes suspicious, but an encounter with Oliver's family shows he wasn't fully honest about his life. This, of course, upsets Felix, leaving him distant from Oliver. Now, I will say, throughout the film, we learn Felix has had other friends at Saltburn that he no longer interacts with. And based on what we learned from Farley and Venetia, it does seem as though Felix likes to, in a way, use people until they are no longer interesting. And while prior to learning about Oliver's actions, it makes him considered just as bad as the rest of the family. However, by this point, it makes sense why he's distant with him. Then get to the part in the film where almost everything switches. After Oliver can't save his friendship with Felix, the next morning we learn that Felix has passed. This is obviously disheartening to the family. However, the family attempt to carry on as though it's normal. And I guess it could be a way to cope, but this doesn't work for Farley, who again gets sent away. And later, the sister who would also unfortunately pass. From this, Oliver is asked to leave by the father James. He would later randomly run into Elspeth, who would invite him back to Saltburn after the death of her husband. And Oliver would get to stay and take over Saltburn after Elizabeth's death. By now, I'm sure you've caught on, from the start of the film, Oliver has had other motives in which he purposely placed himself in a way to interact with Felix. He caused Farley to be banished. Outside of the father, he caused the deaths of the other family members, where he has Saltburn all to himself. This move is quite eccentric, as there are multiple twists throughout the film. It works as something that you could rewatch, as you may notice hints throughout it. This film was shot really well. In addition, the performances by the entire cast was great. I did particularly like a part with the sister Venetia when she catches on to Oliver's actions. I also should have known that since Rosamund Pike was in this film, that something will be up. There's always something else going on when she's in it. Certain scenes weren't my favorite, but again, they play into the psyche of Oliver. Overall, it was great, and I definitely recommend you watch it. And if you have other films or TV shows you want me to talk about, let me know. I would also like to hear your thoughts on this film. Till next time, bye!